Hey guys, Mr. Wilhelm here. In this video, we're going to talk about the different parts of the cell. We're going to take a look at both the plant cell and the animal cell. So cells have all these structures inside of them. We call these structures inside of the plant and animal cell organelles. You may have seen that word before, or at least part of that word, because you have inside the word organelles the root word organs. Okay, so organelles are very similar to organs in the body. Each one of our organs has a specific job or specific task to do, such as the heart or the stomach or the brain, to help the overall human body function. Organelles are the same for cells. Organelles have jobs to help the cell function. And we can draw connections and similarities between organelles to the cell as organs to the body. So let's look at these various structures within the cell. The first one we call the cell membrane. The cell membrane is the doorway of the cell. It is the outermost layer of the animal cell, and there's a slight difference between that and the plant cell, but it is the outermost layer in the animal cell, and it allows for things to go in and out of the cell, and it also provides protection and support for the animal cell and plant cell. The next structure we have is what we call the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell. It's the brain of the cell. It's this purple structure right here. Large structure, usually fairly centered in the cell, and it controls all of the activities inside of the plant and animal cell. The next structure we have is what we call the mitochondria. Mitochondria, they are the powerhouses of the cell. It's these little jelly bean looking structures right here. Those guys are responsible for supplying the cell with energy, okay, and helping the cell to carry out all of its functions and its processes. So the mitochondria, the powerhouse or the energy provider for the cell. The next structure we have is called ribosomes. Ribosomes are the protein factories of the cell. Now these guys are a little bit hard to see in this picture, but they are the little grain-like dots all over the nucleus here in the endoplasmic reticulum. It's all these little red colored dots that we find throughout this area. Okay, those are ribosomes. Ribosomes are responsible for producing proteins. Proteins help repair damaged parts of the cell. The next structure is the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum, we can abbreviate that and say ER. The endoplasmic reticulum is the transportation system of the cell. It is this blue squiggly stuff going around the nucleus. And the endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for transporting materials from one part of the cell to the other. Very similar to the circulatory system in the human body. The circulatory system is responsible for moving blood and the blood is moving materials such as water and food and waste products throughout the body. The endoplasmic reticulum is also responsible for moving food, water, and waste products throughout the cell. Next structure we have is called the lysosomes. Lysosomes. They are the cleanup crews of the cell. They are these little sphere objects right here. Okay, the lysosomes are responsible for getting rid of waste products, similar to the excretory system of the human body. They're responsible for using enzymes to break down parts of waste and so forth, and getting them out of the cell. Then we have the cytoplasm. Now, cytoplasm is not necessarily an organelle. It's really all the stuff between the organelles. We call it the suspension system of the cell. It's this kind of yellow-like substance that we see here between organelles. Okay, that is the cytoplasm. It's kind of like a jelly, like a clear jelly, kind of, not really a liquid, but not really a solid. and all of the organelles are suspended within this jelly. They rest or they sit in this jelly, and that is inside of the cell, so the cytoplasm. Then going on to the flagellum and cilia. Now, flagellum and cilia, these are found in animal cells only. Okay, one of the differences between an animal cell and a plant cell is the flagellum and cilia. Now, in this picture, we have a flagellum. A flagellum is this whip-like, tail-like structure that vibrates back and forth, and it will help an animal cell to move. Very similar to like the cells we've already observed on the microscope, those unicellular organisms that have the ability to move. Okay, a flagellum helps them to move. Animal cell could also have these little hair-like fibers all over the outside of the cell. Those little hair-like fibers are called cilia, and they do the same process, and they wiggle back and forth and help the animal cell to move. Now, it's important to note, not all animal cells can move. Actually, the vast majority of animal cells cannot move. If you think about the cells inside of your body, most of them cannot move on their own. Only few animal cells can actually move on their own. But only animal cells have the ability to do this. Plant cells do not have the ability to move. So that's important to understand. Okay, next we have vacuoles. Now, I have a plant cell here. Here is a plant cell. And then over here is the animal cell. Okay, now, inside the plant cell, we have this large structure. We call this a vacuole. It is the storage tank for the cell. Stores mostly water, but it does also store some waste products. In the animal cells have vacuoles as well, but they're much, much, much smaller. And we'll talk about more why the animal cell's vacuoles are smaller as compared to the plant cell. There's an important reason for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But both of them have a vacuole, this little storage tank, this little water tank. Just know that in an plant cell, it's much larger. The next structures we find in plant cells, and these are in plant cells. Oops, sorry about that. Messed up a little bit there. That's all right. And these are found in plant cells only, okay? Plants only, okay? And that is the cell wall. Cell wall is this rigid, means hard, outer layer, okay? And we only find cell walls in plant cells. They are used for support and structure. We call this support and protection for the plant cell. And these are not found in animal cells. These are only found in plant cells. They're very rigid and stiff, and that's why plants are fairly rigid and stiff versus animals are not. We are very flexible, and our cells are flexible because our cells do not have cell walls. Okay, another structure that we find in plant cells only, and I'll say plants only, is the chloroplast. Chloroplasts are the solar power factories of the cell. They're the green structures here. They're responsible for the photosynthesis process where they take in light. They take in light and transform that into food. They take that light energy and transform it into food energy for the plant cell. These are only found in plant cells. A good way to remember that is we're not green. These chloroplasts make plants, give plants that green color in their leaves. Okay, we obviously are not green. We don't look like little green men or Martians. We do not have chloroplasts in our cells. So chloroplasts found in plant cells only, responsible for photosynthesis. We have the Golgi body. The Golgi body, and I have pictured here both the plant and animal cell. The Golgi body are these little structures right here. So, again, a squiggly structure, but a little bit different. They are responsible for packaging up proteins and delivering them throughout the cell through the endoplasmic reticulum. That is the Golgi body. Next, we have centrioles. And centrioles, I'm going to go over this real quick, but they are responsible for helping out during mitosis. They line up the chromosomes. We call them the guidance counselors because they line up the chromosomes during the mitosis, and mitosis is when cells divide into two. So if you can remember that centrioles basically help out in the mitosis process, or the division process of cells. So when cells divide to make two new cells, centrioles help out in that process called mitosis. All right, so let's go over these structures real quick. We have the cell membrane, outermost layer of the cell, protection and support. Nucleus was the control center of the cell. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. Ribosomes are the protein factories of the cell. Endoplasmic reticulum, that is the transportation system of the cell, helps things get from one spot in the cell to the other. Lysosomes are the cleanup crews of the cell, help get rid of waste. Cytoplasm is the jelly-like substance that we find inside of the cell that all the organelles are supported in. A flagellum is that whip-like structure that helps an animal cell to move. Remember that we only find the flagellum in animal cells. Centrioles help out in the mitosis or cell division process. And then lastly, vacuoles, which are the storage tanks. They store water and then some minerals and waste products. And then we'll go on. Oh, forgot about the Golgi body. The Golgi body is that's our mail package system of the cell, helps package up proteins and to send them on throughout the cell to help the cell repair itself. And then let's take a quick look at plant cells. Now, all those structures, with the exception of the flagellum, we also find in the plant cell. Okay, only the flagellum we find in animal cells. Now, so here what I did is I want to look at just the three that we find in the plant cell and we do not find in the animal cell. So we have the cell wall, which is responsible for protection and support. We have the vacuole. Now, the vacuole, the reason I put that on there is, remember the vacuole inside the plant cell is much larger. We do have vacuoles in animal cells, but the vacuole in the plant cell is much larger. And then we have chloroplast. Chloroplast responsible for photosynthesis. Okay, so if you need to, go back, and I know I did this really quick, so if you need to, go back and rewind, watch it again, and make sure you understand so we can go into our activity on the next day.